Good afternoon, everyone. 3 o'clock straight up on a Tuesday edition of On Cue, coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM, the game remote studios. As always, I am your host, Rich Quinones. We've got about an hour plus to play with on this Tuesday. Hope everyone had a good sports weekend. Hopefully, you guys weren't buried in with the friggin' snow and you're trying to enjoy a little bit of a better 24th of February on this Tuesday, 2026. Get in on the conversation. Very easy to do. Hashtag on cue. And as I mentioned, we are powered by our wonderful friends, as always, over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea, fresh roasted coffee. You can check out the new promo code BYP20. That's for the gambling pod. For On Cue, it's On Cue 20. That'll get you involved. And I got to be honest, this friggin' snow has just been absolutely, it's not even beyond annoying. I don't know how many of you guys had to endure it, but the friggin', that Punxsutawney, little shit groundhog, whatever his name is, Phil. I'm telling you right now, this guy, he's got to go. He's got to go. Figure out a way. I'm not saying put a hit on him. All I'm saying is, would I be sad if he was sleeping with the other little whack-a-moles? I would not. Brutal. Talking 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 inches. And then, the other thing too is, and by the way, a lot of stuff to get into today, but let me just get this off the chest. When you plow friggin' streets and people are trying to friggin' do their driveways, don't be a friggin' jerk off and then rerun the plow right through the street and then push it back on there. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And I don't want to hear from my Florida brethren either today. Talking about some people are on the beach, friggin' 75, 80 degrees, out west, 75, 80. We're sitting here, it's ridiculous. I know people are still shoveling. Speaking of shoveling, and there's a lot of shoveling, what going on in the world of sports, which we will dive into. How about this? NFL never sleeps, and a win for the ages for the United States men's hockey team getting the gold. A great game against Canada that goes in overtime. And it's so funny, right? Because there's two schools of thought with the Olympics. There's always schools of thought with the Olympics because you no matter what, you're going to bring in politics. You're going to bring in culture, politics, elitism, social, whatever it is. So you had the women's U.S. hockey's team, that phenomenal job winning the gold. You had the men capturing the gold for the first time since Lake Placid in 1980, so 46 odd years. You get the hero, right, Jack Hughes. You get the goalie that, quote, stands on the head. And now there's this back and forth war because the POTUS makes a little bit of a backhanded joke because sometimes he says foolish stuff. Now everyone wants to rip the men's team. I mean, it's just... and it's just unbelievable. You can't even have a moment. I mean, you can't even have a moment. And it's not even about like a cultural war, right? You have to understand something here. Here's where we're at. Ultimately, you're always going to look for something like the trigger points when we talk sports. And there's always going to be the trigger point when you start to bring up females, males, male-dominated sports, female-dominated sports. The bottom line is both won gold medals. Both should be celebrated regardless of who says what, backhanded joke, backhanded compliment. Just move on. Is it goofy talk? Absolutely. It is, but just move on. There's no right, wrong, indifferent. Phenomenal job by both these teams respectively. It was a hell of a win, both teams. That game the other day was just fantastic. I mean, the men's team basically had 1,000. They were like Rasputin. They had 1,000 lives in that game. So we'll get your thoughts on the Olympics as well. And I also want to get into a lot of the NFL because the NFL never stops. It never sleeps. It never stops. It keeps going 24/7, 365. Here we go. Cousins, Falcons are getting ready to release Cousins. Crosby looks like he's not going anywhere with the Raiders. A.J. Brown, Nick Sirianni, Eagles head coach, pretty much came out and said, well, no guarantee that A.J. Brown is going to be here. come 2026. So we've got a lot to get into. NBA in full gear. We are in the, I guess you can say um, uh, the meat and potatoes portion of the NBA, right? Meat and potatoes portion of the NBA, because we are now in crunch time with about a handful of games, 20 something odd games left in the NBA season. So we'll dive into that. Little mixed bag with the baseball, which is right around the corner. As I mentioned, a ton to get into. As always, we are going to open it up, and you guys can get in on the conversation. Hashtag on cue. We're also on SR 1029 FM The Game AUDACY app. Download it. You can capture me on, again, my YouTube channel. And if you guys subscribed, I don't know what to tell you guys. The notifications are firing off. You got to comment, like, sub to the channel, sub to the channel, sub to the channel. The notifications are there. The notifications are there. It'll pop up. Here you go. But we'll try to figure that out. In any event, so as I mentioned, you got the men's hockey team, you got the women's hockey team. Everyone's kind of pissing in the wind right now because of what the POTUS said, with a little, backhanded little joke. But again, we're talking now. So the U.S. men's hockey team, if you guys are not familiar with what transpired over the last 24, 48 hours, they are basically facing a ton of backlash because they had a call with the POTUS after their gold medal win. And then Trump basically joked he would be impeached for not inviting the U.S. women's hockey team, who also won the gold. Now, the women's team later declined his State of the Union invitation. And the reason that the men's team is under fire is because they laughed. They laughed. Now, everyone's taking it out. And now we're going to say it's sexist. Here we go. That's lack of respect. It's tongue in cheek. It really is. I don't think they're sitting here slighting the women's team. I really don't. And you also got to consider the source. I mean, we know the POTUS says stuff that sometimes, you would sit there and say in the history of presidents or leaders of the free world or presidents and leaders of other countries over time probably don't say 10% of what he does. But it's just who he is at this point. You move on. But I'm not going to sit here and rip these guys. They laughed. Okay, spur of the moment. They chuckled. It's not like they're disrespecting the women's team. And that's where we're going today. Like, that's why they're getting kind of, unbelievably ripped. Unbelievably ripped. I can't believe it. And listen, the other thing is we make too much of a deal, okay? Because the Olympics, especially with some of these athletes, when they would win a medal, some of them would stand up there during the interviews and they would be very, very pro USA, pro-American, representing their country. Others, said certain things that maybe would be misconstrued as not patriotic, un-American. All they're doing is just expressing themselves. They are. That's all they're doing, is expressing themselves, because they understand that they have a platform. You have hundreds of millions of eyeballs that are watching you. Hundreds. So when you win a gold medal, okay, and you have a microphone in front of your mouth, a lot of times you're like, hey, this is my spot. Here I can go. Now, it was totally different when the men's won. And obviously, you listen to the kid talk about, being American, patriotic, USA, USA, and everyone's up, because, that's what happens, right? The masses. And that's great. Gold winning goal. Here we go. In overtime, first medal in 46 years. He's a friggin' national hero. But so are the women. So are the women. Like, this is not like a competition here. It really isn't. And I think what happens is we get this so lost in the sauce. We really, really do. We get this so lost in the sauce that just everyone relax. Like, the one thing I always find interesting is when you start to talk about who's going to visit the White House and who's not going to visit the White House. First of all, The last time I checked again, are we not allowed to have an opinion in this country? Isn't it, basically, isn't life free will? Isn't the opinion freedom of speech? Correct? We're allowed to have a thought without being ridiculed, crucified, lambasted. If you want to support and go to the White House and you're invited by the president, go. If you don't because you don't believe in his politics, then don't go. Like, what's the big deal? Seriously. Like, what is the big freaking deal? It just annoys the hell out of me, man, when you get with the woke and then the left and then the liberal and then the right and then the down the middle. Who the frig cares? Now, you're probably like, well, why are you bringing it up? Because after a while, it gets annoying. It gets annoying, to be quite honest with you, because, again, it's almost like a major contradiction. So the men's team, they chuckled, and all of a sudden we got, boom, a divide, because that's where we're at in this country. Unbelievable. I thought the Olympics were really good. I thought the both teams, respectively, the men's hockey team, the women's hockey team, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was phenomenal. I love the fact that prior to, you saw the movie Miracle, right? They were airing that. And then what did the men's do? And the men, listen, the men, they did not make it easy on themselves. They really didn't. They did not make it easy. I mean, they were just basically, Canada had so many chances. You had double doinks. You had, pucks hitting all over the place. I mean, it was the goalie was phenomenal. And then obviously you get the turnover, you get the 3-on-1, and Jack Hughes is the hero. And here we go, Micah Ruzioni, 1980. No one's ever going to forget that. He had a wonderful run, right? And now you got the new kid on the block. And I also thought it was a touching moment when you bring over the kids afterwards for the photo. I thought that was really nice. Obviously, if you followed that story with the two brothers, Goudreau, that was an unfortunate incident. And by the way, they're basically Salem County. They were Salem County, Jersey boys, natives. So I thought fantastic, unbelievable, little teardrop, right? I mean, that was a tearjerker. I love the fact that they were honoring Johnny and Matthew Goudreau. I thought it was fantastic. The children joined in the U.S. Olympic gold medal celebration. I thought all around pretty good Olympics. I really did. I thought all around a pretty good Olympics. And obviously the U.S. Banked a lot of medals, right? And, Norway had a wonderful run. So we'll get your thoughts on the Olympics. As I mentioned, we have a lot going on in the NFL. Just another crazy day in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is about to get released. The GM of the Texans basically saying, what the hell are you talking about? There's no way we're trading our franchise quarterback. You got Max Crosby. Doesn't look like he's going to go anywhere. And then you got Nick Sirianni, who came out out of nowhere. Sirianni out of nowhere and basically saying, well, hold on a second. There's no guarantee that AJ is coming back. And maybe there's no guarantee that I'm going to come back, which, again, we know that's not the case. But we have a lot to dive into. We will open it up 15 past 3 o'clock hour on a Tuesday edition of On Cue. Tom in Summers Point, Q, the snow was absolutely annoying. Yes, Sargent, Delaware, Q, we got 13 inches and then another 6 came down just for shits and giggles. Horrible this weekend. Horrible. I mean, it's bad like when you get a little bit of snow. I've always wondered too, for those that live in Michigan, Boston, right, Mass, New England, Rhode Island, upstate New York, in the mountains, Alaska. I mean, you guys, I guess you got to like snow. Do you not? You got to like snow. No one likes shoveling. 22 inches of snow still digging out. Yesterday, not only did we not have internet access, so on the other side of the island, cable was out, power was out. So we're talking 7:30 to 9:30, 2 hours. Then all of a sudden, let's do the decks. Then we got to make the path for the dog. Then we got to actually start doing the driveway. Took a break, another 2 hours. Went down the street, helped out the neighbors, another 2 hours. Came back, took a little rest, trying to make sure that we were going to fire off yesterday, but still no friggin' Wi-Fi, nothing going on, right? It continued to snow. Back out there at 5:30, 8, made fresh coffee. Back out there at 7:30 last night till 8:30. It was non-friggin' stop. And I'm telling you right, man, I just, for the life of me, I appreciate guys that do city work, but some of you guys are friggin' pricks. You know for a fact when somebody's out there shoveling for 10 fucking hours all day long. And what do you friggin' do? First of all, taxpayers pay for these services for the plows, okay? Depending upon where you're at, what community, where you're, what city, whatever. Maybe they're only paid for it to do that one certain street. Last night, I'm sitting here like, oh, okay, it's Christmas time. Like we hear the fire trucks and Santa. I'm like, okay, here we go. I can hear the plow. This is good stuff. Okay, fine. This friggin' schmuck doesn't even do the whole street. It's basically, he does like that much, right? So now the street is typically wide enough for two cars because we call that incoming traffic in this life. Okay, this way and that way. This schmuck, okay, because I know for a fact that the area paid this crew, does it to where you have to drive like a compact foreign car from friggin' back in the day, one of those little British spy cars to just fit to go through the street. So then what happens this morning? Waiting around. Okay, no problem. I want to get back out there because I don't want it to freeze up again because it's going to be a pain in the ass. Did it again this morning. Hit the other side, helping out my neighbor, even though there's a friggin' Eagles fan and he lives in PA. Damn him. I was like, all right, let me just throw the snow on his driveway. I didn't want to do it. I cleared off a nice little path. Here we go. Don't want anyone to slip, fall, break a hip, be like one of those old people in those commercials. We don't want any of that. Here the plow again. What does this friggin' guy do? This friggin' guy, I'm watching. This friggin' guy goes the same left side, because it always seems the snow comes on this direction towards me, right? Because near the water. And he proceeds to basically take all the snow that everyone has shoveled and put to the left and the right and just proceeds to re-plow it back into the driveway. What are we doing? Like, seriously, that should be outlawed. It should be criminal. It really should. If you work outside, okay, and you're plowing driveways, you have to do a solid. We're talking about if you want to go see the POTUS or not. We're talking about un-American, non-American. You know what's un-American? When you have snow drivers that can't even recognize the average Joe working 9 to 5, trying to raise the family, having his coffee, getting his balls broke by the missus, go out there and shovel the driveway. And he does what he has to do. And then he's got to go to his 9 to 5 and get his balls broke by his boss and 16 supervisors. He's sweating. He's soaked. He's just basically tore his back up. He has to come home to see what? The same area that he plowed, revisit it with snow. Un-American. That should be against the law. It should be against the law. It should be against the law. Talk about those plows. Boxing. And it's unbelievable. It's like the Greek character that kept pushing the rock up the hill. And then when he got to the top, it kept falling back on him. Great move with Johnny Hawk. Yes, absolutely. Touching moment. DB Handler, I don't know what to tell you, man. I got to figure it out. Don't rile up. Seems I am Zen-like. I was Zen-like. You know why? Because I'm so tired from the snowing and from the shoveling. Like, wait, whoa. More snow coming in New Jersey Monday? No, not happening. Get out of it. I swear to God, I don't want to sit there and say on the air that groundhog's got to get whacked because I don't want PETA people to get on me. But something's got to be done. Yes, people need to chill. They do. We take it to another direction with these athletes, and when the microphone literally is in front of them. See, this is what I'm saying now. This is nonsense. Ravens fan right there. Here we go. Weather is awesome here in South Florida. Come on down. We need to know exactly what part, because all of a sudden my mouth is watering. What part of South Florida are you in? Doral, Miami, North Miami, Normandy, Brickell, Little Havana. You hanging out in Calle Ocho off of Collins Avenue? Where you at? Digging out neighbor's bottom of driveway, that is straight ice from being plowed. Ah, that's horrible. So I'm going to tell you what you need to do just to prepare yourself going forward. Go to like a Home Depot, not now because they're probably out of it. Do this in the spring, Michael. Go to Home Depot and get like the edger, not a trimmer, the edger. Okay. The edger, not like the hoe, but the edger. It's like not serrated, but it looks like a square and you just boom, edge, right? When you're doing the garden. Get that. It's a lifesaver. It'll crack through ice. And once you start cracking through a little bit of the ice, the rest of it will kind of follow and expand, kind of like in the movie The Day After Tomorrow, when Dennis Quaid overbit it in the beginning. That will be a lifesaver. Sunrise, Florida, 10 miles west of Fort Lauderdale. Oh, man. I'm telling you. Edger. I believe they call it an edger. Yeah, hold on. Let's check. Not Edgar Martinez. Yeah, they call it like a garden edger. Let me see, garden edger. We got just Google it. That's all we got to do. We Google it on the air. Yeah, like a garden edger. So it looks like a very thin shovel, but basically you just dig it right through there. That's when you want to moisten up the ground. You get that. I think it's $34 at Home Depot. $34, and it will crack through the ice. You just that's it, and you're good to go. You are good to go. Now it's supposed to go up to it's supposed to go up to 42, 42, 42, 47, 47, 43. So yeah, well, guess what? If you need it now, you should have. Yeah, go. Let's go. Download the AUDACY app. You get me in the car, and you're good to go. Go. That's what you need. It's perfect, man. And it's like I see people out there trying to chip through with hammers. I mean, come on, man. Get the edger. Get the edger. Sergeant Delaware fires back off cue. I don't care what anyone's political belief is. I thought the Olympics are great for the men and the women, and I really don't give a crap what the POTUS has to say. All right, well, that's your opinion. Again, I'm not telling you guys. I'm not getting to the politics with you. That's not what I'm doing. All I'm saying is this: we become uberly sensitive with certain things, and there's always the one or two people in the room, okay, that don't read the room and want to really make it a federal case. They really do. They want to make it a federal case. Like, okay, he made a joke. I get it. And people will look at it and say, well, that's not right. That's sexist. Yeah, on the surface, it is. Of course. But now all of a sudden, because of that, they don't want to. They decline their invitation, which is their right. You're never going. We are now in this portion of sports because of the way the landscape in media has changed. It really has. It has changed. So now anytime you're talking about content and or sports content, everyone's going to have an opinion, as they should, right? As they should. But now it's getting to the point where, I mean, they're ripping what's her name? Eileen Gu, right? Right? The young what was this? Is the snowboarder? I believe is it the snowboarder, freestyle skier, right? There because of some of her comments, right? She's hard to listen to. I think Boomer Science and basically said she's insufferable, right? And again, I think you got to be careful with how you say certain things, right? Because she won the gold in the half pipe on the last day. So she's pretty much the most decorated freestyle skier in Olympic history. 3 golds, 3 silvers over 2 games. And I think what people were getting upset about is she has a relationship with China, right? because of her, if you look at her nationality, her background. And supporters suggest that much of the resentment towards her is rooted in racism. And I don't know if that's the case. I don't, I don't look at it like that. I think she's represented the country well. She's opinionated. But again, remember, who did she ski for, right? Who did she rep? So she collected medals, okay, for China because her mother was born there instead of her native US. So that's why people are coming out and they're ripping this young girl, obviously because of or lack thereof relationship with China and the fact that she's, being padded her income by millions of dollars. So I think you got to be real careful when you start to just kind of go down that road. If you're a guy like Boomer Esiason, who we kind of know where he hangs his hat, right? She's a smart girl. I believe she's in Stanford. She's very intelligent and she's got an opinion. And a lot of times, bright young people that have an opinion, older, screaming on the porch, get off the porch, they are offended by that. They are worried by that. So again, she's representing a country in which her parents or her mother was born, and people might have a problem with that. But it's unfortunate because, again, that's where we're at. Like, that's where we're at. And you got to understand this. There's a lot of money with a lot of these countries. So, if, for instance, if you are a native or your parents are from Spain or Italy and you decide to rep those countries, right, it doesn't mean you're less American. And she's a young girl. She's a smart girl. She knows how to market a brand and she got money. Like, we always want to twist it and we want to make it fit our narrative. And now all of a sudden, this person's un-American, or this is a bad look. She's insufferable. I mean, come on, man. Like, seriously, stop. Like, when did Boomer Esiason become the end all be all when it comes to Olympic athletes? Come on, seriously. The only thing you can control in this life is how you react, how you think, and how you react. That's it. That's it. So, like I said, you got a 22-year-old, a good-looking girl, very smart girl, athletic, branded, marketing well, winning golds left and right, and now all of a sudden she's insufferable. Why? Because she's banking money more than you ever made as an NFL quarterback, or going to? I mean, come on, just stop. I just hate that we always have to bring in the political element when we're talking sports, or when we're trying to enjoy a moment in sports. Like, people have to understand, when you are an athlete or you're representing your country in the Olympics, I can tell you this, the microphone's in front of you after you win a gold medal. That's your moment. That is your moment. So if someone didn't thank, America, God, country, parents in that order, that doesn't make them un-American. It doesn't make them a hater. It doesn't make them hating this country. If they mention mom and dad first, hey, great. If they mention, hey, I want to thank God above first and foremost, doesn't mean they're a Bible thumper. Like, we get so bent out of shape over just the simplest stuff because we always want to bring in politics. We always want to bring in religion, and we always want to bring in race in the conversation. And why can't we just enjoy the moment? That's all. Just like enjoy the moment. Like, wow, they won gold medals, or wow, overtime gold medal, first, gold medal since, 1984, 6 years. Or, oh my goodness, a game 7. This is phenomenal. Oh, no hitter, a perfect game. Oh my God, look at this unbelievable comeback in the Super Bowl. Like, but that's not where we're at, because, like I said, everyone now wants to be the first, too smart for school, too, cute for school. And they want to get their thoughts out there ASAP. And if it doesn't jive with what you're thinking, then you're dumb, you're stupid, when that's not the case. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone's entitled. But think about everything now that's going on over the last several years, and it's only been magnified over the last several months. I mean, the firestorm with Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl. I mean, I still get comments from people. It's like, move on, right? Move on. So we got your thoughts on the Olympics. As I mentioned, a lot of stuff going down in the NFL. Snowboarder got 6 million from China as a 22-year-old, very smart girl. Yeah. Yep. DB Handle. We need to go back and just celebrate the great performances and leave politics at the door. I wish it was that easy, and I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. Mark and Wallingford chimes in. Q, I'm not going to sit there and say that someone's un-American, but it would be nice if they actually praised the country first and foremost. According to who? Like, seriously. According to who? Remember, like, back in the day, everyone would thank mom. Right? Remember? They would hi mom, right? They would thank mom. That's what they would do. Now, you're going to get the mainstream media that, again, is going to sit there and say, well, I'm not going to allow, or encourage my daughter to emulate this athlete, this person. Or you're going to have someone sit there and says, oh, well, you know what? I didn't like that. The football player, thank God first, and not his family and friends, not his dad who raised him or his mom who was a single mom. Don't emulate that guy. It's like, come on already. My God, we can't even win. Maybe we should just, for now on, just put sports on mute. How would that work? Just put it on mute. You just watch. I'm sure you guys want to put me on mute sometimes. You just watch. You don't even have to listen to comments afterwards. Is that where we're going right now? Some of you guys are thinking, and you're allowed to have an opinion on the air. You're allowed to have an opinion. I welcome it. I don't necessarily always agree with it, just like you guys probably don't agree with half the stuff that comes out of my mouth. But I do question the line of thinking at times. Like, I question your thought process in what you're trying to push or convey or get across, because sometimes it's just goofy talk. It really is. Yeah, goofy talk. All right, 3:30, quick timeout. NFL on the other side. We'll keep the comments rolling along. Keep it locked in. Tuesday edition, not a snowed in edition of On Cue. Don't forget, we're powered by our good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea, fresh roasted coffee. Check out the new promo code On Cue on the show notes below. Quick timeout, little NFL on the other side. All right, welcome back, everyone. 3:34 on a Tuesday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here on this 24th of February, 2026. NFL. So a lot of buzz going on in the NFL. Some stories, some reports, some headlines, if you will, making the rounds. So right now, I mean, it's actually very interesting. So Cousins is going to be released March 11th. Kirk Cousins, backup quarterback with the Falcons, which we kind of already knew. Sanders, Watson, both in the mix for Browns quarterback number 1. See, this is why I told you guys, don't buy into the notion a handful of games by Sanders, because ultimately, for everyone that argued with me about Deshaun Watson, his contract is guaranteed. They need to see if they're going to get any return on their investment. You got Tua, and right now their GM saying everything's on the table with him. The Crosby situation going on with the Raiders, I think that is just a volatile situation. And then you have Sirianni, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni, coming out and when asked about A.J. Brown and basically said, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that A.J. Brown's going to be back with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2026. Now, by the head coach saying that, let's just call it for what it is. by Nick Sirianni coming out, can't guaranteeing A.J. Brown, all-pro, all-world wide receivers back with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2026. Let's call for what it is. A.J. Brown played his last snap with the Philadelphia Eagles back in January. When you say that, that tells me the handwriting's on the wall. It's done. It's a wrap. Here we go. Here we go. And he goes on, yeah, my expectation is he wants to be here. And obviously you want good players like that in your building. But then he kept going. As Howie said, it's hard to get good players in this league. AJ's a great player, and AJ is a good teammate, and AJ is a good person. Does he want to be here? Yes. Do I want him here to be here? Yes. And then asked, will he be here next season? I think we're still in a spot. I can't guarantee how anything is going to play out in the next season. I'm thinking I'm going to be coach next season, but you can't guarantee anything past tomorrow. So, the theme, right? The political way out, the yearbook answer by Nick Sirianni. AJ Brown's done. He's gone. It's just a question of when they're going to put him, when they're going to field trade calls, when they're going to put him on the block. And he has arguably been, you can make a case, and this is no disrespect to the Harold Carmichaels, the Deshaun Watsons, the Owens. You can make a case that A.J. Brown has arguably been the best receiver in Eagles history. I mean, you can really make that case. Now, if you talk about the numbers, you're talking a dead cap hit of over $40 million if they deal him before June 1st. You compare it with less than $20 million in a dead cap if a trade plays out after the date. So if I'm Team A, if I'm New England, if I'm Kansas City, if I'm Buffalo, and I'm thinking about acquiring A.J. Brown, I'm going to be responsible for almost $30 million salary in 2026. And I think Spot Tracker said right around $4 million guaranteed in 2027. So you'll take on a little bit of a headache. You'll take on money, but you'll have a very productive wide receiver. Now, as far as the quarterback situation, I mentioned this a month ago. I said it during the season. I said it after the season. We know right now that there are teams in flux. We know that there are teams that are looking for a bridge quarterback, a veteran quarterback. To me, when Cousins gets cut, it just makes sense that a team like Miami and or the Jets would probably take a flyer on him because he's a bridge quarterback. He's a bridge quarterback. And if Kirk Cousins really wants to play, well, then guess what? He's going to take really any offer. It's not like he has to, but he doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the money at all. Kirk Cousins has made a substantial amount of money throughout the course of his career. Now, there is a thought that Malik Willis is also going to be a quarterback in high demand. Now, Robert's a Packers fan, and he actually tweeted at me the other day and said, Q, how much do you think he's going to get with his next contract? He's a free agent. He's a young quarterback. I think he's got some upside. I can't see him making more than... Is he a $25 million quarterback? Is he a $30 million quarterback? I find that hard to believe. Now, I understand what the market bears. And he came in, handful of games when Jordan Love got hurt, right? He's been with the Packers a couple seasons. He's only played 22 games in his career. He started 22 games. And I'm going to sit here and tell you that Malik Willis is a $35 million a year quarterback? I can't for the life of me. Good conscience, I can't. Maybe he gets into the market. I don't know. I really don't. The fact that they're connecting the Browns to him too is also perplexing because you still got Sanders, Gabriel, and you have Deshaun Watson. I can see the Jets. I can see the Cardinals. I can see the Dolphins. But the rub is this. Let's just say, like Rappaport is saying that Malik Willis will command 30 to 35. Are you going to give him 4 at a $1.50 if you're the Jets or Arizona that paid Murray or the Dolphins that paid Tua? I have a very hard time trying to reconcile that. I really do, especially with a quarterback that's only played a handful of games. Cousins is a little different animal as a bridge. You get him on the cheap because he's going to get cut. He's going to get released. So I would just sit there and say this. If you're going to go, if you're looking, the Jets got to be careful. The Jets took a flyer on Justin Fields. They bought low, they bought cheap, and they were hoping to get a really nice return on their investment. Okay. And it didn't happen. You've got a Falcons team that gave Kirk Cousins $180 million, $180 million contract, and they go and they draft Michael Penix. So Kirk Cousins is arguably one of the highest paid backups in league history. And now they're going to jettison him 2 years into a 4-year deal. Horrible, horrible management and horrible decision-making by the Atlanta Falcons. And that's one of the reasons that their GM, Ian Cunningham, had to say, well, we already knew. He's gone. He's gone. He's absolutely gone. So Cousins goes to the Falcons 2 years after the Vikings decide it's time to move on. They draft J.J. McCarthy. They sign Sam Darnold. McCarthy gets hurt. Darnold cashes in, wins 14 games. They stick with McCarthy. They fade. Darnold goes on, cashes in with Seattle, and wins a Super Bowl. How do you rationalize 4 years, $180 million with $100 million guaranteed? Kirk Cousins doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the money. He's going to try to keep cashing in. Now, obviously, this tells me that the Falcons are probably not concerned about Penix's knee, but it's the third time he sustained such an injury. So Cousins is going to be available. Kyle Murray is going to be available. Tua will most likely be available. Is Willis better than all those quarterbacks after 22-something odd games in the NFL? The NFL, the quarterback position in the NFL, you can just recycle it anytime you want. Anytime you want. There's no rhyme or reason. These guys are just breaking bank constantly. Absolutely constantly. It just never, ever ends. And I'll say this. If you're the Jets, Aaron Glenn to me is a lame duck head coach. To me, he's a dead man walking. I don't believe Aaron Glenn will last the season. And if he does, it'll be by the grace of God. It'll be a miracle because the Jets are going to be a 5-win, a 4-win team. I mean, that's it. They're going to be bad. They're going to be bad. So if you're the Jets and if you're Aaron Glenn and you know that, if you know that, and you're trying to save your ass, are you going to bring in a bridge? Or are you going to sit there and try to sell to Woody Johnson, go out and get a young quarterback, let our coaches, let our staff have an opportunity to work for him? Now, the pushback from Woody is going to be, well, hold on a second. We signed off on Justin Fields. It didn't work out. Fields got benched, but then the owner came out and said that Fields couldn't throw the football. So I think the Jets are in a bad spot. They really are. It would have been a much easier conversation if the Jets would have the number 1 overall draft pick. And as much as everyone wants to push to me that the Raiders are not drafting Mendoza, I find that just utterly ridiculous. They're drafting this kid. But the Jets sit there at number 2, and they're going to be twiddling their thumbs. They really are. They're going to twiddle their thumbs. Abby chimes in. Q, thank you very much for talking about the Olympics. And I have absolutely no issue with the men's squad or the women's squad at all. And thank you for saying that at the end of the day, everyone's allowed to have their opinions. The Olympians were criticized, scrutinized, vilified, belittled as well for 2 straight weeks. And we're talking about all their accomplishments. And now we're going to devalue and overshadow them by talking heads in New York. That's fair. It's a great take. And by the way, it's fair. It's fair. And again, I don't, I think you're doing kind of I think it's kind of a prick comment when you start off the conversation with, well, yeah, she's a good looking girl. Like right there, you've kind of, you've set the bar, right? You've opened yourself up. Like athletic, intelligent, charismatic, and happens to be attractive. Okay. Um, but I'm not going to sit here to Abby's point, and I think it's a very good point, and I appreciate you tuning in. I think it's a very fair point. I mean, they were a lot of the female athletes were really criticized during this Olympics. They were. They really were. And it's like we forgot that they did really well. And they presented themselves and came off really well. But yet you get certain mainstream talking heads in media and it's insufferable. Now let me ask you a question. Do you feel that if, and how can I word this? Let's say, for instance, and I hate to kind of keep using him as the example. All right, let's just say this. So the men win, and they got a microphone right in front of Jack Hughes, right? And instead of basically saying, proud to be American, proud to be American, proud to be American, love this country, love this country, what if he just said, hey, I'm so happy for my teammates, I'm happy for the country, but I'm really not happy with what's going on in the country. Now, he said, I'm happy for the country, I'm happy for my teammates. Now, this is not what he said. I'm using this as an example. Don't, because I know people get goofy when they listen in. But then he hedges it, or he adds the little caveat is, but I'm really not happy with what's going on in this country. Now, that cut is snipped and it's plastered all over social media because this individual, and this is an example, we're making it up, right? Decided that he's going to have an opinion. Are the same people that are bashing the women's hockey team and bashing some of these other female Olympiads, are they going to have the same thought, take, sentiment, opinion if an athlete like Hughes said what I just said? You know what the answer is? No. No, they're not. That's the problem. That's the double standard. They're not. They're not. So you can kind of insert male right here, say what you have to say. Yeah, won the gold. But I feel as though the female athlete says it, the female Olympia says it, and right away it's, open season on them. So yeah, to Abby's point, and appreciate it. I appreciate it. What do we got here? Kevin C chimes in, North Jersey. Cute. Did you see that Harbaugh basically just when he was asked about Tish? And he should. Like, honestly, what do you want John Harbaugh to say? What do you want John Harbaugh to say? John Harbaugh's had a cup of coffee with the New York Giants. You really think he's going to comment on Tish and Tish's back and forth, or having his name or the correspondence, or I don't even want to say acquaintances at the time, or glossing through, passing through, while exchanging emails? He must have knew Epstein. But what do you want Harbaugh to say? He's not going to say anything. The NFL needs to do the talking here. The NFL, they're the ones that need to investigate this. The Giants need to investigate this. I told you guys this 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. If I'm the Giants, I sit there and say, I'm sorry. Sell your stake in the team. Like, don't think for 1 minute, because the Giants hired John Harbaugh, and don't think for 1 minute because they hired Harbaugh, they're cleaning the culture, they're fixing the culture, they're turning it around. Those two things, you can't say, well, now look what's going on with it's isolated, man. It is. Like, it's so easy to say, oh, you're doing all this favor and the equity with the fan base, and you're bringing back the loyal fans, and you go and you hire Harbaugh, and then you learn after the fact that Tish is emailing Jeffrey Epstein. So now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you just ruined the goodwill. No, man, isolated stuff, apples and oranges, man. But what the Giants need to do in the NFL, they need to investigate this. And if you're the Giants, you tell Tish, we don't need to see anywhere for a while, my friend. We don't. We don't. And Tish was one of the guys that pretty much showed the strongest support for Harbaugh. But hey, thanks. But at this point, we don't need to see you around fundraisers, charity. No. Go off to the side. Let the NFL handle it. Let the NFL handle it. Because like I said, his PR spin was a friggin' disgrace. It was a disgrace, a brief association where we exchanged emails about adult. Come on, man. Stop. And I hate to do the guilt by association, but just stop already. Stop. And where there's smoke, there's often fire. So, yeah, Kevin, what do you want him to say? Seriously. The way you portrayed it, it was way milder, so not apples to apples. No. What I'm saying, are we talking the same thing here? If we're talking about the Tish thing, I'm saying that the apples and oranges was this. All Giant fans months ago, this is all I heard. All Giant fans months ago were pissed off that the Giants beat the Raiders and you lose an opportunity for the number 1 draft pick. They got over it as soon as they hired Harbaugh. Nobody was talking about losing the number 1 draft pick. So everyone was saying now, hey, you bring in Harbaugh, you change the culture, the environment of the franchise. Now, after Harbaugh's hired and everyone wants to run through a wall and you didn't leave them, get out of the building, okay? Then, it's a situation where it ruins the culture because of the Tish thing. Okay, so, all right, you're talking about Hughes's if. But I don't think it is, though. Let me ask you this, though. Do you honestly believe, and I got some people commenting in, if he turned around and said what I said, do you think he would have been vilified? If Jack Hughes, who obviously loves the U.S., loves his country, and great for the young man, he's a hero, and he kept saying it, and driving home the point, and that's okay. And maybe he was also kind of taking a shot at other athletes. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in the mind of this kid. But if he would have said, I'm so grateful representing this country, winning a gold, first time since 1980, unbelievable. I'm overwhelmed by emotions. I love this country. I love this country. I love this country. I bleed, red, white, and blue. I love this country. It's the greatest country in the world. And if he would have said the but, I feel as though the but would have been overlooked. It's just my opinion. The but would have been overlooked. To add to that, now we're getting on a girl who won a bunch of gold medals who represented China because that's where her mother was born. And now everyone wants to crucify this girl. That's all I'm saying. Maybe, but not as much as some of the more outward hatred by other athletes. So it depends your definition. Like, I'm okay with somebody. Look, if someone literally comes on a microphone and says, they're representing the U.S., and the microphone's in front of them, well, how do you feel? Well, I'm happy that I won a gold, but I hate this country. That's a problem. Right? Even though that you are entitled to your opinion and agree with you 100%. You and I are on the same page with this. Some of the other guys, I don't know what your line of thinking is. So you're allowed to have an opinion, right? But that is a comment that would be, okay, well then, you'll hear a lot of people say, if you don't like the country, get out. Go, leave, like all the actors and actresses and directors, remember? If everyone, if you're going to elect this guy in office, we're going to leave. Well, a lot of those that came out and said they're leaving the country, they haven't left. And again, I'm not going to get into what side of the fence you lay your hat, It's really not my concern. It's not my business. You guys can be left, you can be right, you can be down the middle, you can be Switzerland. That's okay with me. Opinions are opinions, they're all welcome. I just believe the way the mainstream media is and how we misconstrue comments and how we take things out of context. If this kid would have said love, 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 but I think we're glossing over the butt point. It's just my opinion. Bottom line is this. Bottom line is this. They did something, both teams winning gold, which is phenomenal, and the men did something that haven't been done since 1980. And it was great. It was a great, great moment. Period. It was a great moment. Skull 6 chimes in. Q, I don't want to change the subject, but I know you're talking a lot of NFL. What is Minnesota going to do at the quarterback position? So their VP basically said they're going to leave it up. Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. You know, Harbaugh basically gaslit up, right? JJ McCarthy. And the problem is you took a flyer on a kid that's injury prone. He's already shown you he's got injury history in the NFL. And that's another team that's going to need a quarterback. Now, do they turn around and bring back a Cousins? Do they turn around and bring back a Daniel Jones? I don't know if Tua can start anymore in the NFL. And I don't think Kyler Murray is a viable option. I'm not building around Tua. I'm not building around Kyler Murray. And I'm not sure I'm going to give Malik Willis $30 million after 22 games. So then you go the retread route. Minnesota is a good team. They came on. The Jets are not a good team. So like Minnesota can deal with a bridge quarterback for 2 to 3 years and compete in the North. The Jets need a young quarterback to build a franchise around, which will also buy some more time for the head coach if the organization believes that Aaron Glenn can still be a very good head coach in the NFL, which he has shown you up until this point. He's not a very good head coach. He's not a leader of men. He goes back and forth with the media. He has zero in-game adjustment. And his strength, the defensive side of the ball, they basically rolled over the last 5 out of 6 games. So it kind of goes back to what we talked about the quarterback position in the NFL. If you don't have a quarterback, you are done. You're done. You are done. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, you're done. Agree with you on that one. I didn't think she did anything wrong either. And like I said, that's, you know, I'm trying to read half these comments off because they're coming in. I don't even want to waste my breath with some of these comments because they're just goofy talk. Yes, I like to say goofy talk. Glenn EHT chimes in. Q, I know you were talking a lot about this last week, but think about this. How many NFL teams out there really have great quarterbacking play? 5, right? 5, 6. I mean, it's kind of open-ended. Define great quarterbacking play or great quarterbacks. I mean, I feel as though we have this conversation every other day. Burrow, Jackson, Allen, Stafford, Mahomes when healthy, May. I'm sorry, you got to put Darnold in the conversation after winning a Super Bowl. Who am I missing? Who am I missing? The rest are all young, right? Hurts, you still the great quarterbacking play. I mean, there's 5 or 6 teams. 5 or 6 teams. Everything else is a mixed bag because they're all young quarterbacks. They're second, third, fourth year quarterbacks. So you got the vets, you got the second year, you got the third, fourth, and then we got just the bottom of the barrel. If your point is the NFL has a quarterbacking problem, I agree, but I believe it's also the NFL has a talent evaluation problem at the quarterback position because we tend to give up on these guys. Now, is Malik Willis going to be the next Sam Darnold, the next Baker Mayfield, the next, Geno before he flamed out? I don't know. I really don't know. But 22 games, that is beyond a small sample size. I can't commit to Malik Willis for $35 million a year at 5 years at $150 with $100 guaranteed after 22 games. I can't. I can't. And I also can't look at a rookie quarterback that had a handful of starts and say he's the definitive franchise quarterback, like a Jackson Dart, who I love, who I think is a really good young quarterback, but I need to see more. He looks the part, he plays the part, but I can't sit here in February and tell you after a handful of games, that Jackson Dart, and he played 14. I want to see what he can do next season. I want to see, can he stay healthy? He's got to stay healthy. He's got to be productive. Now, if Jackson Dart plays 17 games next year and he throws for 3,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, 4 picks, I'm going to be surprised. I'm going to be happy. I won't be shocked. But if he throws for 2,500 yards, misses 3 or 4 games, concussion protocol, has 15 touchdowns, 12 picks, then I'm going to start to question the draft pick. Quarterbacks don't grow on trees. They just don't. They just don't. We just fall in love with these guys left and right. Constantly fall in love with these guys left and right. Okay? What do we got here? Marty chimes in, First Lady in Delaware Q. I actually appreciate your thoughts on the Olympics. I know we vary and we have different stances on this, but I'll say this. I thought the women comported themselves and they actually played very well throughout. I loved all the athletic competition and I really didn't care who was giving homage to their mother, their father, the country, God. That doesn't move me. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Listen, the same thing happened in the NBA, right? With the WNBA. And when Caitlin Clark burst on the scene. Because a lot of WNBA players were jealous because they felt they were not getting any shine because of what Caitlin Clark, or because of what they did prior to Caitlin Clark being drafted and playing. And I understood a lot of the arguments, a lot of the sentiment, like we've paved a way. We were the trailblazers, and no one is taking that away from them. But the eyeballs, the facts, as we like to say, the facts of the case, you can't dispute. People watched the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. The other athletes were secondary. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It gave eyeballs to the sport. But you would also have the left, the right, the woke, the mainstream. They would be a little too high on Caitlin Clark, and they would be very dismissive with the rest of the league. Now, I thought that was not fair. I understood what these older players were saying. They paved the way. Yes, they did. But the league understood exactly where their bread was buttered, and that was Caitlin Clark. And you'll also get some of the older talking heads who will sit there and still kind of what on the WNBA and mock it and make fun of it, right? And then compare, again, the apples and oranges, the women playing to the men in the NBA, which is just a ridiculous comparison. But it's what you want to believe. It's, to me, the film doesn't lie. It just doesn't. And the reason I bring up the NBA to WNBA, because if you recall, I used to get guys chiming in, still kind of bad mouth in the WNBA when the ratings were up substantially. They just, for some reason, were not pro WNBA or pro female athlete. And to kind of go back to Marty's point and to Abby's point, I think what you're finding now, you have some of these older athletes or these older talking heads that are very set in their ways and they refuse to adapt, to pivot, to change, to be a little more open-minded, if for lack of a better phrase and or term, right? Because as I told you, anytime you start the conversation with, she's attractive, it's like, well, wait a second. What does that mean? She's dumb? She's just good looking? She's got nothing else to offer? And then you run into a problem. And to me, that's out of bounds. It is. I mean, all these athletes that represented their respective countries in the Olympics, they put in the type of time and effort and sacrifice that many of us will never understand. We will never know. It just, you can't fathom. Do people really get that when you're like, hey, man, I can't wait. I'm going to be in the Olympics in 4 years. Okay. So you say that comment, you put that out there, you try to will it to happen, you put it on the calendar. Starting today, I've got 4 years to get ready. 4 years. Now, we know gymnastics peaked very earlier. So they're training at such a younger age and they're going through the rigors, and it's unbelievable the training that these gymnasts go through 4, 6, 7, 8 years to prep them for their one moment. But let's just say 4 years from now, I'm going to be in the Olympics. Okay. For the next 4 years, your whole life, every second you are breathing, it's just devoted to your craft. It's devoted to perfecting whatever your skill set's going to be whether you're going to be a skier, whether you're going to be a sprinter, whether you're going to be a bobsledder, whether you're going to be a baseball player, basketball player, whether you're going to be a hockey player, whether you're going to be a freestyle, whether you're going to be a diver, 100 meters, it doesn't matter. That's all it's just, you are engulfed in it. You are engulfed in it. So for people to suggest that, well, yeah, what did they really sacrifice? And they don't understand what sacrifice is. And they don't really love this. Do you have any idea what they go through? You don't. You have no clue. You have absolutely no clue whatsoever. If you think playing Division I sports is tough, or balancing, your workload, working a job, taking 6 classes a semester, and having to worry about practice or 2 days or this and that, it pales in comparison. Pales in comparison what these Olympic athletes representing their respective countries have to go through. The stress, the intensity, it's non-stop. So, give them a little wiggle room, will you? Like, seriously, give them a little wiggle room. That's all I'm saying. Don't be so critical. Don't take every little comment, every little word that's coming out of their mouth, and just kind of understand, right? And at times, I don't think we do. I really don't. It's like I always say, you never know, like, somebody's battles, what someone's enduring, what someone's going through, like, the sacrifice that this person has had to make. Nobody knows. So you can't sit there and judge and say that somebody's insufferable, or, well, they're just stupid, or they're un-American, or they hate their country, or they don't know what the hell they're talking about, or I can't believe they're not going there. Like, just give it a rest. Just give it a rest. That's all. Like, just, I don't know, man. And I get it. Like, sometimes, I'm very old school. I am. I'm extremely old school. I really am. Like, I wish, I wish I can harken back to the days when you're watching the NFL on CBS, right? And we're watching the NBA on NBC, and a different time, right? Because that's my youth. That's my childhood. Grew up watching those sports, watching those games, watching those teams with my father. That was our thing. Sports, right? I love sports. It's one of the reasons I wanted to be a broadcaster. Absolutely infatuated with sports. Loved encyclopedias, anything that had to do with sports related stuff. Give me it. I'll read it. I'll absorb it. I want to learn from it. And then you learn, okay, now you know about it. You can talk about it in an intelligent way. You can have an opinion about it. But opinions change over the years. line of thinking changes over the years. Like when I was a younger broadcaster, 20 something odd years ago, maybe um, I wasn't as knowledgeable with certain topics and I couldn't really convey that on the air, or I couldn't expand. I just didn't have the depth for it, but I had to mature and I had to grow and I had to research and I had to prep and I have to speak to people and listen to people and learn and talk to athletes and understand. And then I got more comfortable. Right. But along the way, what I believed 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 5 days ago is a little different than what I believe and think now. So for everyone to sit up there and they've been commenting, and like I said, I appreciate comments and opinions, but it's very hard, okay, to be an athlete. And we grew up and we all played sports. We played in high school, we played in JUCO, we played in college. I know for me, I don't walk on after I left JUCO. I worked at the radio station. I walked on the men's soccer team and I was ecstatic. And I worked at the radio station. I cleaned the bus, and I took 6 classes. I took 18 credits. I was beyond thrilled. But it was hard. It was not easy for me. It was extremely hard because I was never book smart. I hated school. Hated school. But I made my father a promise, get the education, get the diploma, right? But I was just not, you put a book in front of me, you put a sports magazine in front of me, something different. I'll absorb it within 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I can tell you exactly what I just read. Boom, 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 boom. Books were different, but it was challenging for me. Now imagine having to do that every day, that challenge, right? And I'm not talking about the academics, but the physical, the mental, every single day, getting up 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, eating, breathing, training, resting, training, eating, resting, training, doing that you think they take days off? Seriously, do you think an Olympic athlete takes a day off? Their body goes through the rigors, stuff some of you guys get off the sofa too fast and you twist your back. You're on workers' comp. You're done for 7 days. These athletes, the rigor, and that's why they're so emotional. They're so emotional. I mean, I know fighters that made the Olympic team. I know fighters that were, pre-Olympics, qualifier for the Olympic team, junior nationals, junior Olympics. The sacrifice these kids. I remember when Shakur Stevenson, Newark, used to cover amateur events, New Jersey Golden Gloves, when he lost in the Olympics. The raw emotion of this kid. Because of all the years, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the conditioning, the cardio, the jumping rope, the sparring, the mitt work, the gym time, the road work, just every day. Every day. So when people suggest, you can't do it. You can't. There's only a select few. There's a select few. And that's why when they are selected to represent their country, they are beaming with pride. And with all that being said, because of their sacrifice and what they had to endure, if they do medal, if they do get a microphone in front of their face, it is their moment. It is their moment. It really is. So it's like they're allowed to have a moment without being ridiculed, whether you agree with it or not. Whether you agree with it or not, and if you think it's un-American, whatever, or unpatriotic, whatever, all I'm saying is take a step back and understand that times, they are changing. We don't live in the same world we lived in 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. We don't. And the way content is right now, the way we're absorbing it's just, it depends. If you listen to Network A, POTUS is doing a wonderful job. If you listen to Network B, Scott doesn't know what the hell he's doing. If you listen to Network C, a little bit of Switzerland, a little down the middle. And I'm just using that as an example. Same thing with sports. right? You flip the dial, you listen to sports talk, you might hear Station A say this, Station B say this, Station C say this. Like everyone's got a varying opinion. Everyone. And it's one of the reasons I do love the Olympics. I love the Winter Olympics, but I really love the Summer Olympics. And it's one of the other reasons, when we get the World Cups, why I get so enamored with it, because you got to understand these things don't happen every year. They don't. A couple years here and there. And you got to enjoy it. But you also have to understand, put in perspective, the sacrifice that these Olympians have made. So yeah, when someone's up at the podium and they're telling you what they think, it's okay if you don't agree with it. It's okay. But let's not get it twisted. Let's not then push your narrative and make it out to be that, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. Oh yeah, she's a good-looking Olympian, but she's not smart. She's ill-informed. She's tone deaf. Or yeah, that's a hell of a great job. He's a good-looking kid, but man, I can't believe he's unpatriotic. Like enough. Enjoy it. That's all. Enjoy it. We got enough crap going on right now. Just enjoy it. I, for one, I enjoyed it. I thought the game, the men, U.S. Against Canada, was a great game. I thought the women's game was a great game. I caught the tail end. I watched pretty much the men's, and man, they were basically, playing with fire the whole game long. They were playing with fire. I mean, Canada had chance after chance after chance after chance to win that game. And the U.S. just hung around. And then, of course, obviously, the goalie made ridiculous. And I'm glad, I think it was it Edio or Boucher was, giving a lot of credit to the goalie, because without him, they're not in that spot. Now, do I have a problem with the FBI director kind of celebrating on tax dollars? We can have that conversation another day. We can have that conversation another day for you guys. Presidente had a decent take on hockey fans being mad about the team visiting. I can't. Man, you should know better. Yeah, I listened to that. Listen, everyone, opinions are going to vary. And remember, you can't serve two masters. You just can't. You can't serve two masters. And no matter what, someone is always going to be pissed off. It just doesn't matter. It does not matter. And like I said, it was a joke. It was an, off color, off the mark joke, right? But I think people get goofy on social media. They really do. I'll tell you how bad it is. So I just saw this, and people have been passing away left and right. How about Revenge of the Nerds? My guy, Slotnick. Remember Revenge of the Nerds? Right? Great movie. Robert Carradine, right? Just had a very long battle. I think it was bipolar. I was reading he committed suicide. Horrible. Is that accurate? Right? He was a funny actor. I mean, I enjoyed his work. Did they say he committed suicide? He struggled with bipolar. Confirmed his death. Took his own life. That's horrible. Think about that for a moment. Seriously. Not doing a Debbie Downer on a Tuesday, but think about that for a moment. Everything going on with the world. People getting pissed off over jokes and left and right and down the middle and what they said, what she said, what he didn't. Now you got someone, 71, comes from a family of actors and actresses, is if you followed the older shows back in the 70s, right? With, his father and I think his uncle or his grandfather. I mean, it's just all over the place, right? But think that it's so bad. Louis Slotnick, there you go. Great character. It's so bad that you can't deal with, you're dealing with an illness, but it's so bad that you decide to take your own life, right? Like, put it in perspective. So Eric Dane passed away. If you ever watch Grey's Anatomy, I watched maybe the first or couple seasons, and then I was like, eh. So he had a very short battle with ALS, and he passed away. And he battled and battled, and it came on fast, and boom, everyone knows ALS, Lou Gehrig disease. Okay. There was an extra actress that played in Grey's Anatomy. As soon as this man passes, there's always one in the room. Everyone wants to offer condolences. She kind of went the 180 and basically said, he was an awful man. He was a bully, and no bad loss. Like, as soon as he passed away, basically this actress slammed him, like literally slammed him. You're talking about a guy that had a courageous battle with ALS, and then just you have someone that had a cup of coffee on the show and basically said, he was a bully. Good riddance. It's like, wow. And we're gonna get, put it in perspective. We're gonna get bent out of shape over jokes, right? You gotta be a psychopath. Yeah, sad day for Revenge of the Nerds. It's a great movie. Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. You kidding? Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. And I don't know what the actress's name is. It escapes me. But point being is, like, you got to put it in perspective. You have to. You got to put it in perspective, right? I mean, come on. Let's not take everything so serious. I started to, I know I got to start wrapping it up, almost 4:30. I went through, I think I gave you guys the show last week. Did you guys see The Staircase? It's on Netflix. Very good. Exceptional. I finished Lincoln Lawyer. I got to get through new season of Dark Winds. I started to watch Dexter New Blood. I think it's New Blood. How many? Yeah, only one series, only one season. Then I'll go to the other one. But I started to watch that because I love Dexter. Took me a while to watch it because I know it's an older show. And The Night Agent is coming out. So that's my list, right? That was Lamar that threw the javelin. Yeah. Wasn't he the one? No, he wasn't the one that always made the noises. He would do the sound effects. That was the other guy from Police Academy. I think Lamar. What other? Lamar was in the Karate Kid too. He was part of the Cobra Kai's. Did you know that? Yeah. Lamar throwing the javelin. Yeah. That's because Wormser and Poindexter made it more aerodynamic, if you recall. I'm done. All right. That's it. All right. Tomorrow, Woosah Wednesday. We'll see how the fish are biting tomorrow. I can't. Didn't they make it? Didn't he make it? Remember, it was like bending. It was like flipping and flopping. Wasn't it? What did they say? It was more aerodynamic, right? I'm pretty sure that was the scene. I'm pretty sure. Hold on a second. I know that javelin toss was the scene, but I'm trying to get the it was what was it, like the limp wrist throwing style? It was designed by worms. Worms are okay. Aerodynamics. So I was 100%. So I was 100% correct. That's exactly what it was. And they had the Chariots of Fire theme. Do 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 do. Do you remember that? All right. I'm glad you guys got us out on a positive, fun note. Um, yeah. All right. Wusa Wednesday tomorrow. Unbelievable. Did you want to join? Hold on. Keep it real. Did you want to join Alpha Beta back in the day? No one wanted to be a tri lamb. I mean, listen. If now we're keeping it real. If it got me closer to Betty, I can't do lambda, lambda, lambda. I can't. I can't. Now, Lewis winds up with Betty in the end because the nerds always prevail over the bullies. Remember the when they did the dance song, right? Right? We got Poindexter on the microphone, right? The lambda, lambda, lambda. Lamadoo, lamadoo. Wait, was it lambda, lambda, lambda? Yes, lambda, lambda, lambda. And remember, wasn't Bernie Casey like the founding father of lambda, lambda, lambda? Look, if it got you closer to Betty, you got to go that route. But we know at the end of the day that, the nerds prevailed because they were smarter than the bullies, and bullies never win. See, we come full circle. We put a bow on it nicely. All right. Tomorrow, back in the saddle, a Wusa Wednesday. Yes, you guys have me in tears. I see a lot of laughing emojis coming in. Just thinking about the throwing motion of Lamar. All right. We'll do a little more NBA tomorrow, a lot more of the NFL. Good stuff with the comments. You guys can connect with me on social, on IG at Rich Q on Q on X as well. TikTok Rich Q on the mic. So many great lines. You've been watching that all night. He hasn't even left for that movie. All right, Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea, fresh roasted coffee. Back in the saddle manana, Woosah Wednesday. You guys have a wonderful Sports Tuesday. Be safe, be sound. Appreciate you checking out a Tuesday edition of On Q. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. We will talk to you tomorrow. Hasta luego, buen día.